When you hear the word meditation, what pops into your head? Probably something about emptying your mind, right? Or finding your inner Zen. Well, today we're going to explore a completely different idea, one that looks at meditation not as some mystical art, but as a straightforward biological process. Let's get into it. So let's just kick things off with a question. What if the whole point of meditation has been kind of misunderstood? What if it's not really a mental workout, but actually a clever biological hack that you can play on your own body? And here's the core idea right here. Meditation is basically awake sleep. Yeah, you heard that right. It's this really unique biological state, somewhere between being wide awake and fast asleep, where your mind stays totally conscious, but your body conks out. Okay, so how in the world is that even possible? How can you convince your body to go to sleep while your brain is still, running the show? Well, it turns out the mechanism is surprisingly simple, and it all boils down to one thing: stillness. Think about it. How does your smartwatch know you're asleep? It's got a motion sensor inside, right? An accelerometer. If it doesn't feel you moving around for a while, it just assumes, hey, it must be asleep. Well, guess what? Your body works on the exact same principle. It has its own internal motion detectors. And that's the trick. That's the whole hack. If you can stay perfectly, completely still for long enough, you fool those internal sensors. Your unconscious brain gets the memo, no movement detected, and it starts running its standard sleep program. It paralyzes your muscles, slows your heart rate, all while your conscious mind is still wide awake and paying attention. To really get this, take a look at this quadrant. It maps out the 4 states we can be in. In quadrant I, your mind and body are both awake. That's just your normal day. Down in quadrant 3, they're both asleep. Simple enough. But the other 2, that's where it gets really interesting. Quadrant 4 is sleepwalking. Your body's up and moving, but your mind is out. And quadrant 2, that's our goal. Body asleep, mind awake. Now, that quadrant 2 is also where something else lives: sleep paralysis. So, what's the difference? Well, it's all about control. Sleep paralysis is when you accidentally slip from being asleep in quadrant 3 up into 2, and it feels terrifying because you feel trapped. Meditation, though, is an intentional, controlled journey from being awake in quadrant I over to 2. It's a state you can enter and, more importantly, exit whenever you want. All right, so once you manage to enter this state of awake sleep, things can start to feel a little weird, but these sensations, as strange as they might seem, are a totally normal part of the process. It's really just your brain playing a game with itself. To get what's happening, think about that classic brain in a vat thought experiment. The idea is, if you could keep a brain alive but cut it off from all its senses, sight, sound, touch, what would it experience? Well, during awake sleep, your body shuts down those sensory and motor nerves. So you are, in a very real and totally safe way, running that exact experiment on yourself. And because your brain is suddenly disconnected from its usual stream of information, it starts generating its own data to fill the void. This is exactly why people feel sudden rushes of heat or cold, or why their limbs feel heavy as lead, or why they hear sounds that aren't there. These aren't mystical experiences. They are perfectly normal hallucinations from a brain that's temporarily offline from its body. It's not weird, it's just biology. Okay, so this is a pretty neat biological trick for sure. But what's the actual point? What's the practical benefit here? Well, this is where we get into the incredibly powerful connection between our body's physical state and our mental well-being, especially when it comes to things like anxiety and sleep. This quote just nails it. It gets right to the heart of the matter. The state of your mind is a direct, unfiltered reflection of the state of your body. You physically cannot be in a state of deep, profound relaxation and, at the same time, be mentally freaking out with anxiety. The two are just incompatible. Now, we usually think that anxiety starts in our heads with a worrying thought. But the science points to the opposite. First, something stressful happens. Instantly, before you even have a chance to think, your survival brain triggers a physical fight-or-flight response: heart racing, muscles tensing. It's only after that physical stuff happens that your thinking brain notices it and slaps the label anxiety on the whole experience. The body always reacts first. And this is the absolute game changer. If the physical reaction comes first, then trying to rationally think your way out of anxiety is like trying to have a calm conversation with a blaring fire alarm. It just doesn't work.
The key is to short-circuit the process by convincing your body to stand down first. And a deeply relaxed, asleep body is the ultimate all-clear signal to your brain.
And it's not just about anxiety. Let's talk about something we all need more of: sleep. The price we pay for not getting enough is just staggering. Get this. Research shows that a single night of bad sleep can reduce our ability to learn new information by a whopping 40%. And if you want to see how sensitive we are, just look at what happens when we switch to daylight savings time. That 1 hour of lost sleep causes a 24% spike in heart attacks the very next day. Traffic accidents go up too. It just shows how fragile our whole system is and how critical every bit of rest really is. So, we've covered what awake sleep is, how it works, and why it's so incredibly good for us. Which brings us to the final, most important question: how do we actually do it? Well, the answer is so simple, it's almost revolutionary. This piece of ancient wisdom from Lao Tzu just captures it perfectly. The path isn't about adding something new, a new skill, a new effort. It's about subtraction. It's about letting go of one thing after another until there is absolutely nothing left to do. And there it is, the real secret to all of this. The ultimate technique for achieving awake sleep is to do nothing. Seriously, the entire goal is to achieve absolute stillness, and any kind of effort or technique is by its very definition a mental or physical action, and that just gets in the way. So you might be thinking, okay, then what's with all the techniques? Watching your breath, observing your thoughts, all that stuff. Well, think of them as tools. They're just convenient methods, little tricks, to give our busy, chattering minds a simple job to do, so that our body can finally achieve the one and only thing that actually matters: complete and total stillness. And this is maybe the biggest shift in thinking we need to make. We don't meditate in order to get relaxed or focused. Focus, relaxation, mindfulness, these aren't the actions you're taking. They're the automatic biological consequences that just happen all on their own when you successfully do nothing and let your body slip into that state of awake sleep. So, we'll end on this thought. If the most powerful tool for dialing down your anxiety and boosting your health is as simple as achieving stillness, as simple as just doing nothing, what do you think is actually getting in your way?